It's Rekt Capital and welcome back to the Rekt Capital channel here on YouTube. Thanks so much for joining me in today's video, and we're going to be taking stock of some of the things that we've covered over the past few days really. We'll be talking about the monthly RSI just to see where that's at. We're going to be talking about whether or not this is indeed a June-like repetition of this market structure. So are we seeing essentially the same thing playing out? We're going to be talking about a few of those elements, and we're going to tie that in with the Litecoin halving, which is quite interesting because the Litecoin halving is around August 2023, and Litecoin tends to top out just before its halving. And could we see some correlation with Bitcoin at the same time? That's a very fascinating insight to bear in mind. In any case, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. We're very close to 45k subscribers, so thank you so much. But we'll celebrate that another day once we actually reach it, that milestone. But in any case, like the video if you like these videos I've been posting recently, and let's dive into it. So let's talk about the Litecoin halvings. Prior to a Litecoin halving, Litecoin tends to bottom and enjoys a pre-halving rally before effectively topping out just before the halving. So in this case, we saw a pre-halving top out 30 days prior to the halving. For pre-halving Litecoin halving 2, we saw a top out of 60 days, so 2 months before the halving. And are we seeing a doubling in terms of pre-halving tops in terms of time, or are we seeing additional 30 days on top or doubling? So is this a double to 60 days, or is this actually increasing by 30 days to the point where we could see a pre-halving Litecoin halving 3 months prior to the halving? Something to bear in mind. If this were to be 3 months prior to August, that would be May, which is quite interesting. And it would be April if it were 120 days. So that's also something to bear in mind. April, May being that pre-halving Litecoin top. And the reason I mentioned that is before, and we saw the Litecoin halving occur in August as well. Litecoin halving in August 2019, break out to new highs, new yearly highs for Bitcoin before retracing a few months before this halving. And that's quite interesting because the Litecoin in general is a fork of Bitcoin, and it has halvings programmed into its protocol. So this sort of correlation shouldn't be ignored. Bitcoin rallying to new highs a few months before the Litecoin halving is quite interesting because Litecoin still was rallying just a month prior. Oh, apologies, it's actually this portion of price action. We saw Litecoin top in around June. So here we also saw a June top, which is really interesting. Strong correlation. Very fascinating. Strong correlation between Litecoin and Bitcoin. Top out a few months before the Litecoin halving, and we could see something very similar happen this time round as well, especially since we've seen a 20% breakout from this market structure and a over 20% breakout from this market structure. So very similar situation at the moment. If this continues, we could see something very similar to this play out, where we top out before the Litecoin halving, specifically a few months before the Litecoin halving. Whether that's 3 months or whether that's 4 months remains to be seen, but a detail to bear in mind that we will most likely see a pre-halving Litecoin top, which will correspond to a Bitcoin top as well, which is going to be inevitably a lower high to the all-time highs. So we're not going to see any new all-time highs for Bitcoin or Litecoin, as a matter of fact, prior to August 2023, which is the Litecoin halving. And in fact, after the halving, the Litecoin halving, will see a period of retracement in Litecoin's price action and also in Bitcoin's price action, as we saw right over here in the immediate aftermath of the Litecoin halving of 2019, so we'll probably see something like this as well. So this sort of play out, just like here, isn't out of the ordinary. It isn't too far-fetched a situation and scenario to bear in mind. So I hope you enjoyed that portion of the video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and like the video for more videos like this in the future. And let's move on to the monthly RSI, and we've been talking about this most recently, that this green area is an area of support for previous bear market bottoms. So 2015 here, 2019, and this is, or has been at least, figuring as a resistance. So we need to reclaim this region, and right now the RSI might be in this phase where it needs to monthly close above the green area and pull back into a support retest before moving higher, and that would be a very good confirmation signal for a new macro bull trend for the RSI, and that could correspond to a macro bull trend on price in Bitcoin's price action essentially. So that's what I'm going to be watching out for. If this is a rejection here, then we might be in this phase, although RSI would have been a little bit more overextended. What I'm generally just watching for is for the RSI to reclaim this red wedging structure where we see bear markets rally to bull market tops at the top of this channel. So you can see from the bottom wedge, red wedge bottom to red wedge top, red wedge bottom to red wedge top, and you can see that these bottoms occur prior to the Bitcoin halving, and those tops occur after the Bitcoin halving, prior to the Bitcoin halving, and then after the Bitcoin halving. So really important to bear that in mind, that reclaiming the bottom of this channel, and you can see the blue line here for the April 2024 halving. We'll probably see a top at the red wedge top after that halving, but we're still trying to set up that new cycle. But another thing to bear in mind, and this is an interesting metric, is the Bitcoin dominance chart, which showcases to us how dominant is Bitcoin capital flow going on right now in specifically the Bitcoin assets. So we're seeing an increase in Bitcoin dominance. So Bitcoin is becoming more dominant in the market. Money flow is predominantly focused on Bitcoin as market dominance for Bitcoin is growing. And that makes sense because market dominance going up for Bitcoin means that market dominance for altcoins is actually dropping. So Bitcoin is attracting money flow. It can be either new fiat entering the system, the Bitcoin market, the Bitcoin asset, but it can also mean that altcoins are being panic sold and they're losing and shedding valuation at the expense of this Bitcoin uptrend. So right now, we are essentially at almost cycle lows, and you can see here 2018 is where Bitcoin peaked in price and bottomed in market dominance before finally rallying to new all-time highs around the mid 2019 and early 2021 region. So Bitcoin was very dominant in the market during this time, and altcoins would really suffer during this time as a result because money flow was going away from altcoins into Bitcoin. So right now we're seeing a massive wedging structure here for Bitcoin dominance, which means that breakout from this wedge, and we're going to see tremendous money flow into Bitcoin. This could be, well, let's put it this way, breaking out from this wedge would mean that market dominance of Bitcoin would go up. But does that mean that price would go up? That doesn't necessarily mean that, but it could mean that. So in a Bitcoin uptrend, money flow focusing on Bitcoin, that would increase market dominance for Bitcoin. But at the same time, if we were to see an alt season or something and then Bitcoin market dominance goes up, then this could actually mean that everybody is exiting the market, the altcoin market and even the Bitcoin market. But to exit altcoin BTC pairs, you have to flip into Bitcoin, which increases the market dominance of Bitcoin. I hope that makes sense. But that's also another scenario that would contribute to market dominance and Bitcoin going up, even though Bitcoin's price might not necessarily trend upwards in tandem. So in any case, breakout from here and we'd see a new cycle in Bitcoin dominance, and by the same token we might see a new cycle in Bitcoin's price, because So far, we've seen market dominance increase for Bitcoin when Bitcoin has actually broken out in price. And you can see that this recent breakout in price action has indeed contributed to a strong increase in Bitcoin market dominance. So breakout from this wedge, we'd revisit this region right over here. And you can see here that this was a ascending triangle for Bitcoin dominance, which broke out to new highs as well. We consolidated a bit there. But generally, looking to the past, breakout from this this wedging structure, we'd rally into this red resistance, could potentially pull back here. So that pullback would be good for altcoin valuations. We might see an altcoin window occur there. But if we break out and then retest this red area as a resistance and then hover below this red resistance for a bit, that could also enable some altcoin movement. But generally, the trajectory for Bitcoin dominance is up at the moment, unless we see a rejection just like this or just like this right over here. So in any case, if you see Bitcoin dominance go down, that's when you want to risk on with altcoins, because money flow would be going towards altcoins after a strong market dominance move from Bitcoin. So at the moment, Bitcoin dominance is trending upwards towards this red level. We could see overextension towards this red top wedge here, and even upside wicking beyond this black wedge. So we could see even upside in market dominance like this. But then if we see a rejection, then we'd see market dominance fall this way, and then maybe go towards this red region here. So some scenarios to bear in mind. Bitcoin dominance is preparing for a macro trend reversal in Bitcoin dominance, which isn't good news for altcoins, by the way, but could be good news for Bitcoin's price action. We're seeing this RSI also preparing for a macro trend reversal, which is good news for the RSI trend and also for Bitcoin's price action. So perhaps this RSI is informing us that we might be seeing market dominance increase because Bitcoin's price is going to be increasing. And also this scenario here of June 2019 repeating, that is suggesting to us that we will see an uptrend in Bitcoin's price action going forward, which ties in with the Litecoin halving, the pre-halving rally, as we tend to see historically, topping out a few months prior to August 2019. So that's also tying in with this RSI uptrend impending and this Bitcoin dominance uptrending as well. So it does look like many metrics are aligning in a way that are suggesting to us some upside for Bitcoin still yet to come. It won't come all at once, but something to look forward to as this new cycle is slowly starting to gather steam. Whether there's scope for one more low, that's always going to be a possibility, especially since we are in a bottoming out area. But it's important to be prepared right now and be prepared for upside. If it goes to the upside, that's great. If it goes to the downside, then you just dollar cost average in addition to your existing position. So that makes you a very formidable investor if you're okay with upside and downside from this points, from these current prices, because that means that it's good news either way as you prepare for the long-term Bitcoin trend, which is not only potentially this sort of price appreciation, but this post-halving exponential uptrend that we tend to see. But I feel like this is going to, of course, happen after the halving, so in 2024. Nonetheless, lots to look forward to, lots to get excited about as we prepare for this new cycle. Most likely, I'm still going to have some cash reserves ready for that final low if it happens, and if it doesn't, then I'm fine as well. I've had a few, and we've all had really a few months of accumulation, and as you guys know, I've been accumulating sub 25 because that's what the data science suggests to us. Actually, the data science suggests to us that sub 35k is a great historical era that has offered long-term investors great ROI over the year or two that comes after the halving. So Nonetheless, that's about it for today's video. Feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. Like the video if you enjoyed this one. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend, a peaceful, restful weekend in the company of family and friends. I'm Rekt Capital, and I'll speak to you next week here on YouTube. Speak to you soon.